Now, what I want to share with you is something you won't necessarily find in the Greenbelt manuals. This is something that goes back to my earlier career when I used to work as an organizational psychologist and specifically working on culture change. And I want to introduce you to a very powerful tool I've never let go of ever since those days. And it's this. So if we're going to win, we want to create a lasting improvement. It's not just a temporary fix. It's something that's better, at least until we can improve it still further. But the first thing to recognize is that every single person in an environment, in a system that you are changing, has to go through that change journey on their own. And you can help them with it, but it's up to them to go through that change journey. And if that person successfully travels that journey, then they will adopt the changes and they will stick with doing those until something even better will come along. They will accept it as their new habit. But if they don't successfully make this journey, then the inertia of their existing habits and their existing status quo will mean they fall back into old habits because the new is trying to overwrite the old. And that's really hard. If any of you tried to change a habit, maybe a New Year's resolution, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is how to help people to go through this. It's not just about training and handing over standardized documentation. Those two things are very important, but that's not what it's about. So I want to introduce you to this guy, Peter Scott Morgan, most amazing guy, started off in robotics and then moved into the world of culture change and is a phenomenal person. He did some analysis on what was called resistance to change, and he wanted to understand what were the resistors of change. And he realized that these were the questions that people were asking. I'm not resisting the change. I just don't know why we need to change. So we've got to be clear with people about why the change is even worthwhile in the first place. Back to my SIPOC diagram. Share that SIPOC diagram with everybody, not just the project team. Make everybody aware and clear about the fact we're letting the customer down. We're not delivering enough on time, or that we're simply unable to afford to carry on working the way we are if it's issues with the voice of the business. But making sure everybody is clear and accepting of the fact there is a need to change before you try and sell them on this change. It's got to be done in this sequence, or else people don't have a rationale for understanding this change. But of course, once they've said, yes, I accept there is a need to change, then we need to be able to help people to understand that this change is the better one. Now, if you've been following your Greenbelt process, you'll understand you'll have done a lot of testing and plan, do, study, act throughout the process. You've got your control charts, etc., etc. But you'll also have been collecting qualitative data about how it feels working the new way, etc. And so when you talk people through, you want to be able to share with them, look, we tried this, we tried this, we tried this, and this was the one that gave us the best result. This is the one that's the least effort for you. This is the one that's safest for everybody. This is the one that means you less like to get shouted at down the phone, whatever the answer might be. Okay, but you've got to be clear from your Greenbelt data why this solution is the best solution to go after. Then people are ready to to ask themselves the question, will I be able to succeed in the new world? Let's say I've been working as a senior manager for 12 years in my current role, and I've always run my business this way. Hang on a second, all the rules are changing around me now. I've never seen the process run this way before. What's going to happen to me? It's a scary time. It's like being back in a new job, but without the safety net of everybody knowing that you're new. This is fundamentally scary for people. It's not just about training people up, it's also about giving them the space and the time to adjust and adapt to the new ways of working. After people have said yes to those three questions, then they've got to answer questions entirely personal. It's nothing to do with you. However good a green belt you are, however good a black belt you are, it's nothing to do with you. They need to make the personal choice. Do they want to live or work in this new way of working? If the answer is no, then the company should respect that and help them find somewhere else to be. Yeah, within or without the business, that's absolutely fine. Just make it amicable and make it an accepted change, because the person knows that it's a better way and they know that it needs to happen. They just don't want it for themselves, and that's fine. The final one is a fascinating one because it changes focus yet again, and that is, will I be allowed to change? And that's where the system itself, after funding and supporting this project to get everything to happen, then turns around and goes, yeah, but actually we like running things the way we used to. Maybe some of you got experience of that. And this is where your sponsor is fundamentally responsible for making sure this does not happen. So they need to make sure that all of the people who hold the status quo at the senior level are also going through this journey so that the changes are allowed to embed and stay. Yeah, because the levels and all of the way the new process works is going to be fundamentally different and may require them to manage and lead in different ways as well. So we need to answer each of those questions in this order. So if there isn't a yes, I accept each one of those things, then I will fundamentally, I will be unlikely to be able to change. This is not resistance to change. This is just about people having the knowledge and the support and the acceptance of it. If there is resistance to change, it's point 4. But as I say, if we're ready for it, then we can support it.